For the lower bound, if there's a finite discontinuity, why do we take it from 0 minus instead of 0 plus if we're not worried about below 0?
That's an amazing mathematical question. Generally what we do, it's as far as engineers go, the 0 minus, the 0, and the 0 minus and the 0 are kind of interchangeable. The reason why you do it from 0 minus is you care about the initial conditions on the capacitors and the inductors. And if you had like a capacitor, its initial voltage isn't going to change from 0 minus to 0 plus. So you wouldn't have to worry about it. But if you had an initial current through the capacitor that you were worried about, you'd have to go back to that before the switching event to find out what it was. Is the only place the 0 minus actually shows up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So taking the inverse Laplace transform, it's defined as this cursive L to the -1 of f of s, and it will give you f of t, and it's 1 over 2 pi j, where j is the square root of -1, just like it was in EE188, because I is used too much by us already. And we integrate it across the period of f of t e to the minus st. We generally don't perform these integrals as engineers. Most of the functions we're concerned with are either sinusoids, DC, or decaying or growing exponentials. And people who like math much better than me have come up with these tables where they perform these integrals. And there's properties for them. I can do a couple of them, and a couple of them I just scratch my head and look at the table. That is real. Oh, I had one student. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about these. Functions that we can perform Laplace transforms of, this step function right here, C, we've talked about this before. It's discontinuous at time t equals 0. It goes from 0 to 1. It's really easy to do the Laplace transform of that one. And it models something real. It models me walking over to my power supply and turning on the button that makes it suddenly the 5 volts come on. So that's something real. This ramp function, R of t, is something that is slewing up. It's slowly getting to a final value. It usually doesn't always go, it usually gets something like that in the real world, but we could model a piecewise part of time as something that's slowly ramping up. Or if you had something that looked like a triangle wave, we could model part of that using a ramp function. It's easy to take the integral and the Laplace transform of a ramp function. So we're going to use that one. This is the one that gets to me. Communication people love this delta function because it makes doing the convolution integral possible. But the impulse function, it also in the real world models a sudden disturbance on your line. Suddenly your transformer blew out and the whole electrical network of Flagstaff is gone down. It was a sudden pulse on the line. It doesn't really go to infinity, but it goes to a very large number. We mathematically often model that as an approximation with a delta function. Okay, we talked about these before. We're going to be using them today, though. So let's go into this in a little bit more detail. We've got this step function. So U of t is basically 0 for t less than 0, and it's 1. Oh, no. I threw my stylus and it got like down into a crack. And fortunately, I was able to retrieve it, but I will be back and we'll talk about unit step functions. I'm sorry.